The alarm screamed through the bridge of the Vraxian warship. Commander Thalrex lifted his forearms and silenced it with one swift movement, his yellow eyes fixed on the main screen where a small vessel drifted in the darkness of space. "What do we have?" he asked. His second officer, a younger Vraxian named Krev, checked the sensors. "A human cargo ship, Commander. It's damaged. Life support is failing. They're sending distress signals in 12 different languages." Thalrex's mouth curved into what passed for a smile among his kind. Humans were rare this far from their territory. The Empire paid good money for human prisoners. They wanted to study them, to understand why such weak creatures had managed to spread across so many worlds. "Prepare a boarding party," Thalrex ordered. "And be careful. Humans are tricky." 20 minutes later, the boarding team cut through the cargo ship's hull. Smoke filled the corridors. The lights flickered on and off. Everything looked abandoned and broken. The team moved slowly through the ship. Their weapons were ready. They checked each room, each corner. Most of the ship was empty. Cargo containers were scattered everywhere. Some were open. Some were burned. In the cockpit, they found him. A human man sat in the pilot's chair. He was thin, too thin. His clothes were dirty and torn. His black hair was messy. His face looked tired, with dark circles under his eyes. He was Korean, the soldiers could tell from his features. When he saw the Vraxians, he raised his hands slowly. He didn't fight. He didn't run. He just sat there looking at them with dark, empty eyes. "Please," he said in broken Vraxian trade language. "No hurt, ship broken." "Need help?" The lead soldier, Rix, laughed. "You need help? You'll get help, human. The kind you won't like." They pulled the man from his chair. He didn't resist. He moved like someone who had given up all hope. They put metal bands around his wrists and ankles. The bands hummed with energy, ready to shock him if he tried to escape. "What's your name, human?" Rix demanded. "Kang Deho," the man said quietly. "Cargo hauler. Just cargo hauler." They dragged him back to their ship, the Predator's Crown. It was a massive vessel built for war and hunting. The Vraxian Empire used ships like this to patrol the border regions, catching anyone who wandered too close. Daiho stumbled as they pushed him through the corridors. Other crew members stopped to stare. Some pointed. Some laughed. Humans were entertainment for them. Weak, soft creatures that broke easily. They threw him into a cell in the detention section. The cell was small, just big enough to stand or lie down. The walls were made of some kind of energy field that buzzed and crackled. One side was transparent so guards could watch him at all times. Deho landed hard on the metal floor. He didn't get up right away. He just lay there, breathing slowly. Science Officer Crix arrived soon after. Crix was different from the warriors. He had 6 thin arms and wore a coat covered in pockets and tools. His eyes were curious, not cruel. "Fascinating," Crix said, studying Deho through the energy field. "A real human. I've read so much about your species. You're quite fragile, aren't you?" Deho pushed himself up to sit. "Yes," he said. "Very fragile. We'll need to run tests," Crix continued. "Medical scans, blood samples, stress tests. The Empire wants to understand human weaknesses better. For military purposes, you understand?" "I understand," Deho said. Crix held up a scanning device. "This might hurt a little." The device hummed and clicked as it passed over Deho's body. Numbers and symbols appeared on its screen. Crix frowned. He scanned again. The frown deepened. "Strange," he muttered. "The data keeps corrupting. Must be equipment malfunction." He tried 3 more times. Each time the readings came back wrong or incomplete. Finally, he gave up. "No matter," Crix said. "We'll do proper scans at the research station. You're going to be very valuable to us, human. Very valuable indeed." After Crix left, guards brought Deho a tray of food. It was gray paste in a bowl, the standard prison rations. It looked terrible and smelled worse. Deho ate it without complaint. He ate every bit, scraping the bowl clean. Then he lay down on the metal bench that served as a bed. He closed his eyes, but he didn't sleep. Through barely open eyelids, he watched. He counted how many guards passed by. He noted when they changed shifts. He observed which ones were careful and which ones were lazy. He memorized the layout of the corridor beyond his cell. Commander Thalrex came to see his prize that evening. He stood outside the cell, all 4 arms crossed, looking down at the human with satisfaction. "Do you know how much you're worth, human?" Thalrex asked. "The Empire will pay me enough credits to buy a small moon. You're going to make me very rich." Deho opened his eyes. He looked at Thalrex for a long moment. "Good for you," he said simply. No spirit left in you, is there? Thalrex laughed. That's fine. Makes you easier to transport. We'll reach the research station in 5 days. Try to survive until then. The scientists prefer their subjects alive. Thalrex walked away, still chuckling. His footsteps echoed down the corridor until they faded completely. Deho sat up slowly. He looked around his cell, studying every detail. The energy field hummed at a specific frequency. The cameras in the corners rotated every 30 seconds. The air vents were standard military size. He noticed something else. 3 cells down. Past the empty cells on either side, there was another prisoner, a human woman. She was hurt badly. Blood stained her clothes. Her face was bruised and swollen, but she was alive. Their eyes met for just a moment. She looked surprised to see another human, then afraid of what would happen to both of them. Deho nodded to her once. Just once, a small movement that meant, I see you. Hold on. Then he lay back down and closed his eyes again. The guards thought he was sleeping. They thought he had given up. They thought he was just another weak human, broken and defeated. They were wrong about all of it. In his mind, Deho was not in a cell. He was mapping the ship. He was calculating distances and timing. He was planning. Because Kang Deho had not been captured. He had arrived exactly where he needed to be. The Vraxians celebrated their prize that night. They drank and boasted about their success. They talked about the credits they would earn. They never noticed that their prisoner wasn't sleeping. They never noticed his eyes, dark and patient, watching everything. And they never wondered why a simple cargo hauler would have military-grade encryption in his biometric data. That oversight would cost them everything. The next morning, guards moved Deho to a different cell. This one was in the center of the ship, in a large open area where many crew members passed by throughout the day. The cell was like a glass box visible from all sides. Commander Thalrex wanted everyone to see his prize. Let the whole ship know what we caught, he told his officers. Let them see how easy it is to capture humans. It's good for morale. So Deho became a display. Crew members walked past his cell during their breaks. They pointed and laughed. Some took pictures. Some made rude gestures. Deho sat on his bench and watched them all with quiet, tired eyes. The Vraxians were not the only species on the ship. The Empire used many different aliens in their military. Insect-like creatures called Chithraks served as scouts. Their bodies were covered in hard shells and they had too many legs to count. Cloudy beings called Velmoth worked as navigators, floating through the corridors like living fog, and there were null units, robots with metal bodies and glowing red eyes serving as mercenaries. All of them came to see the human. A young Vraxian warrior named Velkor drew guard duty on the second day. He was new to the Predator's crown, eager to prove himself. He stood outside Deho's cell with his weapon ready, trying to look important. I've killed 3 humans in battle, Velkor announced to Deho. He wanted the prisoner to be afraid of him. They died quickly, screaming. Deho looked at him. I'm sorry, he said. Velkor blinked. Sorry? Sorry for what? Sorry you had to do that, Deho said. Killing is hard. It stays with you. The young warrior laughed, but it sounded forced. You're weak. You don't understand war? Maybe, Deho said. He was quiet for a moment. Do you have family? Back on your homeworld? Velkor frowned. Why do you ask? Just wondering. Your accent sounds like you're from the southern provinces. I met a Vraxian from there once. He talked about the red forests. Said they were beautiful. How do you know our language so well? Velkor asked. You speak better than you did yesterday. Deho shrugged. I learn fast. And I've had a lot of time to listen. They talked for the next hour. Velkor found himself telling this human about his home, about his 2 brothers, about his mother who wanted him to be a teacher instead of a soldier. He didn't know why he was sharing these things. The human just listened and asked simple questions. When another guard came to relieve him, Velkor walked away feeling strange. The human's eyes had been kind, almost sad, like he understood something Velkor didn't. During mealtimes, guards brought Deho the gray paste. He ate it all every time without complaining. Some crew members found this funny. They bet on whether he would finally refuse to eat the terrible food. He never did. On the 3rd day, Deho noticed something important. During shift changes, there was a gap. For exactly 90 seconds, twice per day, his section had only 1 guard instead of 2. It happened when the patrols overlapped in a different part of the ship. He noticed other things too. The cameras watching his cell were older models. They had blind spots in the upper corners. The energy field of his cell powered down for 2 seconds every time the main engine cycled up, and the ventilation system made a specific sound when it was about to pump fresh air through the detention section. Deho memorized all of it. He also watched the other prisoner, the human woman 3 cells away. She was getting worse. Her wounds were infected. The guards gave her medicine, but not much. Just enough to keep her alive. On the 4th day, Science Officer Crix came back with more equipment. "I fixed the scanners," he said cheerfully. "Now we can get proper readings." He pointed the device at Deho again. This time it worked. Numbers filled the screen. Crix's eyes widened. "Interesting," he muttered. "Your bone density is higher than average for humans. And these muscle patterns. You're stronger than you look." "I worked hard jobs," Deho said. "Heavy lifting?" Crix made notes on a tablet. "We'll do more detailed tests at the research station. They have much better equipment there." "What happens at the research station?" Deho asked. Crix glanced at him. For a moment, something like guilt crossed his face. Then it was gone. "You'll be studied. Thoroughly. The Empire needs to understand human weaknesses. Your pain tolerance, your breaking points, how your body responds to different stresses." "Torture," Deho said quietly. "Science," Crix corrected, "though I suppose the difference doesn't matter much to the subject." After Crix left, a null unit approached the cell. It was a robot mercenary, 7 feet tall with weapons built into its arms. Its red eyes scanned Deho once, then twice. Then its optical sensors began to flicker. Strange sounds came from its speakers like static and broken words. The null backed away from the cell quickly. It turned and left without saying anything. Bellicor, back on guard duty, had seen the whole thing. "Strange," he said. "Null units don't malfunction often." "Maybe I'm unlucky," Deho said. That night, more crew members came to mock the human prisoner. A group of Chithraks clicked and chirped, making jokes in their language. A Velmoth navigator floated close to the cell, its cloudy body pressing against the energy field, trying to scare Deho. Deho ignored them all. His eyes were on the woman prisoner. She had collapsed in her cell. Guards had to go in and drag her back to the bench. She was barely conscious. "That one's not going to make it to the research station," one guard said to another. "She's dying." "Doesn't matter," the other guard replied. "We already collected the bounty for her capture. Dead or alive pays the same." Deho's hands clenched into fists. For just a moment, something dangerous flickered in his eyes. Then it was gone, hidden behind the mask of exhaustion he wore. On the 5th day, Commander Thalrex made an announcement over the ship's communication system. "Attention, crew of the Predator's Crown. We will reach the research station in 3 days. Prepare the prisoners for transfer. This has been a profitable hunt." Cheers echoed through the corridors. That afternoon, Velcor sat near Deho's cell during his break. He wasn't supposed to socialize with prisoners, but no one was watching. "Why did you come out here?" Velcor asked. "To the border regions. It's dangerous for your kind." Deho was quiet for a long time. "I was looking for someone," he finally said. "Who?" "Someone who hurt people I cared about. Someone who needs to answer for what they did." Velcor leaned forward. "Are you a warrior?" "You don't seem like one." "I was," Deho said. "A long time ago. Now I'm just tired." "What did you do?" "In your wars?" Deho looked at him. Really looked at him. "I found people who were lost. I brought them home. And sometimes I made sure the ones who took them could never do it again." Something in his voice made Velcor uncomfortable. The human still looked weak and defeated. But for just a second, Velcor had seen something else. Something that made his warrior instinct scream danger. "You're just a cargo hauler," Velcor said, trying to convince himself. "Yes," Deho agreed. "Just a cargo hauler." But as Velcor walked away, he felt uneasy. He kept thinking about the human's eyes, about how they never seemed afraid, about how he watched everything with careful attention. That night, Deho lay on his bench and stared at the ceiling. He had been counting days, measuring distances, observing patterns. He had learned the name of every guard, every officer, every place where weapons were stored. The woman prisoner, whose name he didn't know yet, was getting worse. He could see her shivering in her cell. She needed help soon, or she would die. 3 more days until they reached the research station. 3 more days until he could act. Deho closed his eyes and continued his silent count. Guard rotation in 5 minutes. Camera sweep in 12 seconds. Engine cycle in 43 minutes. The Vraxians thought they had caught a helpless human. They thought they had won. They had no idea what was coming. In the shadows of his cell, Kang Deho waited. Patient as stone. Quiet as death, the Reaper was counting down. The message arrived during the night cycle when most of the crew was sleeping. It came through the highest security channel, marked with black level priority. Only Commander Thalrex and his senior officers had access to messages like this. The computer woke Thalrex from his sleep with urgent beeping. He sat up in his quarters, angry at being disturbed. "This better be important," he growled. The message was from Imperial Command. It was encrypted 3 times, which was unusual. Thalrex entered his command codes and watched as the message slowly decoded. What he saw made his blood run cold. "No," he whispered. "No, that's not possible." He pressed his communication button. "All senior officers report to the bridge immediately. This is an emergency." Within minutes, 6 officers crowded into the command room. Science Officer Crix was there, still half asleep. The weapons master, Grath, looked annoyed. The head of security, Vex, came in with her weapon ready, expecting an attack. "What's the emergency?" Grath demanded. Thalrex put the message on the main screen. Command finally processed the humans' biometric data through their deep databases. It took days because the encryption was military grade. Very old, very sophisticated. They had to break through multiple security layers. "Why would a cargo hauler have military encryption?" Crix asked. "Because he's not a cargo hauler," Thalrex said. His voice was shaking. "Look at the screen." The decoded file showed a military record. A human military record. The name at the top read, Colonel Kang Deho, Special Operations Command, Human Defense Forces. Below the name was a list. A very long list. 47 black operations missions. 23 prisoner extractions from enemy territory. Single-handedly destroyed 2 pirate organizations. Personally eliminated 16 high-value targets across 7 systems. "This must be a mistake," Vex said. "That human in our cell is weak. He's defeated. He can barely stand." "Keep reading," Thalrex said. The file showed more information. Specializations, infiltration, counterintelligence, psychological warfare, close combat, demolitions, and something the file called aggressive negotiation. Known aliases, Ghost, Shadow, the Knife in the Dark. And one more name that made every officer in the room freeze. Reaper. "I've heard that name," Grath said slowly. "In the underworld markets. Pirates tell stories about him. They say he's a myth. A human legend used to scare criminals." "He's not a myth," Thalrex said. "He's in our detention section right now." Crix pulled up more files. According to this, he was declared killed in action 15 years ago. During something called the Helix Station incident, the records say he died saving 300 colonists from a Vraxian siege weapon. "Our siege weapon?" Vex asked. "Yes," Crix said quietly. "The official report says the weapon malfunctioned and destroyed the station. But these classified files tell a different story. The weapon didn't malfunction. Colonel Kang Deho sabotaged it. He turned it against our own ships. Then he disappeared in the explosion. Everyone assumed he died. But he didn't die," Thalrex said. "He went underground. And according to these intel reports, he's been hunting the people responsible for that weapon ever since." The room was silent. Every officer was thinking the same thing. "The research station," Vex said. "Dr. Hyunwoo works there now. He was the chief scientist on the Helix Station weapon project." Thalrex nodded slowly. "The Reaper let us capture him. He wanted to be taken to that station. That's where his target is. We need to kill him," Grath said. "Right now. Before he makes a move." "No," Crix said. "We need to study him. Do you understand how valuable he is? A human special forces operator? The Empire would pay a fortune for him alive." "The Empire doesn't even know we have him yet," Thalrex said. "Because you kept delaying the full reports." Crix looked embarrassed. "I wanted to do preliminary studies first. To take the credit for the discovery." Thalrex turned to his security chief. "Vex, I want the detention section locked down. Triple the guards. Put our best soldiers on duty. And arm them with heavy weapons." "Sir," Vex said. "If he's so dangerous, why hasn't he tried to escape yet?" No one had an answer for that. They went to the detention section as a group. A dozen armed guards surrounded them. Everyone was nervous. Every shadow seemed threatening now. When they reached Deho's cell, they found him sleeping. Or at least he appeared to be sleeping. He was lying on his bench, eyes closed, breathing slowly and steadily. He looked so ordinary, Crix whispered. Are we sure this is the same person? Thalrex checked his tablet. The biometrics match. That's him. They stood there watching the sleeping human. He didn't look like a legend. He didn't look like someone who had destroyed entire criminal organizations. He just looked like a tired man. Wake him up, Thalrex ordered. A guard activated the shock function on Deho's restraints. A jolt of electricity ran through the metal bands. It wasn't enough to cause real damage, but it hurt. Deho's eyes opened. He sat up slowly, looking at all the officers and guards surrounding his cell. His expression didn't change. He just looked tired, like always. Can I help you? He asked in perfect Vraxian, not the broken trade language he'd been using before. Perfect accent-free Vraxian. You lied to us, Thalrex said. I didn't lie, Deho replied. You asked my name. I told you. You asked what I did. I said I was a cargo hauler. That's not a lie. I've been hauling cargo for 15 years. You're a soldier, Grath said. A killer. I was a soldier, Deho corrected. Long time ago. Now I'm just a man looking for someone. Dr. Hyunwoo, Thalrex said. The scientist at the research station. That's who you're looking for. Deho's eyes focused on Thalrex. For just a moment, something cold and hard appeared in them. Yes, he said simply. We're not taking you there, Thalrex said. We're changing course. We're taking you directly to a maximum security military prison. You'll spend the rest of your life in isolation. No, you won't, Deho said. His voice was calm, almost casual. What makes you think you have any choice? Vex demanded. Because you already sent the message to the research station, Deho said. 2 days ago. Telling them you're bringing a human prisoner. They're expecting you. If you change course now, they'll ask questions. They'll want to know why, and you'll have to explain that you caught someone dangerous and didn't realize it for almost a week. That won't look good for your career, Commander. Thalrex's face darkened. You think you're clever. I think I'm patient, Deho said. And I think you're in trouble. Because you have 2 choices now. Take me to the research station like planned, where I might escape and kill Dr. Hyunwoo, or change course and explain to your superiors how you failed to identify a high-value target for 6 days. There's a third choice, Grath said. Kill you right now. You could try, Deho said. But I counted 12 guards. You'll probably succeed, but some of you will die in the process. I may be in restraints, but I'm not helpless. And you know it. You've read my file. He was still sitting calmly on his bench. He hadn't moved. He hadn't made any threatening gestures. But every officer in the room suddenly felt afraid. We'll keep you locked down, Thalrex said. Triple guards, energy fields at maximum power. No one gets close to your cell. No one talks to you. We'll keep you contained until we figure out what to do. That's fine, Deho said. But you should check on the other human prisoner. The woman. She's dying. If you want her to live long enough to reach the station, she needs medical attention now. Why do you care? Crix asked. Because she's human, Deho said simply. And humans don't abandon each other. After the officers left, the detention section became a military zone. Guards stood at every corridor. Heavy weapons were mounted on automated turrets. The energy fields around Deho's cell were increased to maximum power. Bellicor, on his regular duty shift, saw all the changes. He approached one of the senior guards. What happened? Why all the extra security? The human, the guard said. He's dangerous. More dangerous than anyone thought. That can't be right, Bellicor said. I talked to him. He's just a tired old man. He's a killer, the guard said. A special forces operator. They call him the Reaper. He's probably been planning an escape this whole time. Bellicor looked at Deho's cell. The human was sitting quietly like always. He didn't look dangerous. But now Bellicor remembered those eyes. That calm voice. The way he seemed to notice everything. What are we going to do? Bellicor asked. Keep him locked up. Keep him contained. 2 more days to the research station. Then he becomes their problem. But that night something strange happened. The ship's medical alert system activated. The female human prisoner was in critical condition. Her wounds had become infected with something the ship's computers didn't recognize. Dr. Crix went to examine her. He came back shaking his head. She needs emergency surgery. Equipment we don't have on this ship. If we don't get her to the research station soon, she'll die. Commander Thalrex made a decision. Increase speed. We'll reach the station in 30 hours instead of 2 days. Push the engines hard. From his cell, Deho listened to all of this. He heard the engines change pitch. He felt the ship accelerate. 30 hours. He closed his eyes and continued his count. The countdown had begun. The lights went out at exactly 300 hours during the third night cycle. Not all the lights, just the detention section, and 3 adjacent corridors, and the security monitoring room. All at the same time, emergency backup lights flickered on, casting everything in dim red. Alarms started screaming throughout the ship. In the command center, Thalrex jumped from his chair. What's happening? Power failure in sections 7 through 12, an officer reported. Cause unknown. Get security teams down there now. Check the prisoners. But it was already too late. In the detention section, Deho's cell door slid open. The energy field that had held him for 6 days simply vanished. The metal restraints on his wrists sparked once, then fell away, their locking mechanisms fried by a carefully timed electromagnetic pulse. He had been waiting for this moment. For 6 days he had listened to the ship's systems. He had memorized every power cycle, every energy fluctuation. He had used the ship's own magnetic fields, amplified by the metal in his restraints, to create feedback loops in the detention section's power grid. The Vraxians thought they had been watching him. They were wrong. He had been reprogramming their ship from inside his cell, one tiny electromagnetic pulse at a time. Deho stood up. His movements were different now. The weakness was gone. The exhaustion had vanished. He moved like water, smooth and fast. 2 guards rushed toward his open cell. They saw a prisoner standing free and raised their weapons. Deho was faster. He kicked the first guard's weapon up, grabbed it midair, and used it to strike the second guard's helmet. Both aliens went down hard. Not dead, just unconscious. He took one of their weapons and a security key card. Then he moved. The backup lights made shadows everywhere, perfect for someone trained in infiltration. Deho became one of those shadows, moving silently through corridors he had memorized from brief glimpses during his capture. He reached the woman prisoner's cell first. She was barely conscious, fever making her shake. Her eyes widened when she saw him. "Stay quiet," he said in Korean. "I'm getting you out." "Who are you?" she whispered. "Kang Deho. Can you walk?" "Barely." He used the stolen keycard to open her cell. The woman tried to stand but collapsed. Deho caught her and lifted her carefully. "There are 10 more humans on this ship," he said. "Can you tell me where?" "Cargo hold 3, she gasped. "They're in stasis pods, waiting to be transported." Alarms were getting louder. Deho heard boots running toward them. "Lots of boots, hold on," he told her. He carried her into a side corridor just as 12 guards arrived at the detention section. They saw the empty cells and started shouting into their communicators. Deho set the woman down gently in a maintenance alcove. "Wait here. Stay hidden. I'll come back." "You can't fight them all," she said. He looked at her with those dark, calm eyes. "Yes, I can." Then he was gone, moving through the ship like a ghost. The Vraxians had training. They had weapons. They had numbers. But they were hunting something they didn't understand. Deho didn't fight like a soldier. He fought like physics itself. In Corridor 12, a group of 6 guards came around a corner. They found their path blocked by a heavy cargo container that hadn't been there a minute ago. While they tried to move it, Deho dropped from the ventilation shaft above them. He used their own stun weapons against them, moving too fast for them to track. In the armory, guards tried to lock down the weapons, but Deho had already rerouted the locking systems. The doors opened when he wanted them to open. He took what he needed: stun grenades, a plasma cutter, and a small medical kit. In cargo hold 3, he found the stasis pods. 10 humans, all unconscious, floating in blue liquid. The control panel showed they were stable but would die if the pods were damaged. Deho worked fast. He attached portable power units to each pod, making them independent from the ship's systems. Then he programmed them to wake the humans slowly, safely. A null mercenary found him there. The robot raised its weapon, targeting systems locking on. Then its systems crashed. Sparks flew from its joints. Its red eyes flickered and went dark. Deho had used the ship's magnetic containment field, creating a focused electromagnetic burst. The null collapsed, its circuits fried. "Sorry," Deho said to the dead robot. "Nothing personal." Commander Thalrex watched the chaos from his command center. On every screen he saw his crew trying to catch one human, and failing. How is this possible? He demanded. He's outnumbered 300 to 1. He knows the ship better than we do, Crick said. He's been studying it for 6 days. Every system, every corridor, every weakness. Seal all sections. Lock down everything. He's already bypassed our lock systems, sir. He's using our own security protocols against us. Thalrex made a decision. Evacuate all crew from sections 5 through 15. Seal those sections completely and pump them full of sleeping gas. That will stop him. But Deho was already ahead of them. He had reached the environmental controls. With the plasma cutter, he severed the gas lines to those sections. Then he reversed the flow, sending the sleeping gas toward the crew quarters instead. Half the ship's crew fell asleep in their beds. Velcor found himself in a corridor face-to-face with the human. Deho held no weapon. He just stood there looking at the young warrior. I don't want to hurt you, Deho said. You were kind to me. You told me about your family, your mother who wanted you to be a teacher. Velcor's weapon shook in his hands. You lied to me. No, Deho said. I just didn't tell you everything. There's a difference. You're a monster. Maybe, Deho said. But I'm a monster who's trying to save innocent people. Your commanders torture humans. They experiment on them. They kill them slowly. I've seen the records from the research station. Did you know what they do there? Velcor was silent. I'm giving you a choice, Deho said. You can try to stop me and get hurt. Or you can walk away and pretend you never saw me. Either way, I'm taking those humans off this ship. He pulled out a small data chip and tossed it to Velcor. Evidence of war crimes. Your Empire's crimes. What you do with that information is up to you. Then Deho walked past him. Velcor stood frozen, the data chip in his hand, watching the human disappear around a corner. In the command center, Thalrex was desperate. Activate the self-destruct sequence. If we can't contain him, we'll destroy the ship. Sir, that will kill everyone on board, an officer protested. Do it! The computer accepted the command. A countdown began. 10 minutes until the ship exploded. Thalrex activated the ship-wide communication system. Attention, human prisoner. In 10 minutes, this ship will self-destruct. Everyone on board will die, including you and your people. Surrender now and I'll cancel the sequence. Silence. Then Deho's voice came over the same communication system. He had hacked into it. No, Commander. You won't destroy the ship, but I will make some changes. On the command center screens, they watched in horror as Deho accessed the self-destruct program from an engineering terminal. His fingers moved across the controls with expert precision. What is he doing? Crix whispered. He's reprogramming the self-destruct, an officer said. He's redirecting it to target only the weapons systems and the engines. The ship will be disabled but not destroyed. Can we stop him? No, sir. He's locked us out of our own systems. 5 minutes later, a series of small explosions rocked the ship. The weapons batteries exploded outward into space. The engine cores shut down, leaving the Predator's crown drifting and defenseless. Emergency power activated. Life support remained stable. But the ship was now just a floating metal box in space. Deho's voice came over the communication system again. I've activated your distress beacon. It's broadcasting on all frequencies, including human military channels. Help will arrive soon. You expect humans to rescue us? Thalrex asked. No, Deho said. I expect them to rescue the humans you've been holding prisoner. What happens to you is up to them. Maybe they'll help you. Maybe they'll leave you here. I honestly don't care anymore. Thalrex slumped in his chair. His prize catch had destroyed his ship, freed all the prisoners, and made him look like a fool. His career was over. Where is he now? He asked weakly. Heading to the shuttle bay, an officer reported. He's taking the prisoners and leaving. Let him go, Thalrex said. We can't stop him anyway. In the shuttle bay, Deho helped load the unconscious humans into a large transport shuttle. The woman prisoner, whose name he learned was Park Jiwon, helped despite her weakness. You're a legend, she said. The Reaper. I thought you were dead. I was, Deho said. For 15 years. But I had one more job to do. Killing the scientist at the research station, finding him, making him answer for what he did. For Helix Station, for all the people who died there. The last stasis pod was secured. Deho helped Jiwon into a seat and made sure she was strapped in safely. What happens now? She asked. Now I send a message, he said. He accessed the ship's communication array one last time. He downloaded every file about the research station. Prisoner locations, experiment records, staff rosters, security protocols. Everything the Empire had tried to keep secret. Then he broadcast it all. Not just to human space, to everyone. Every species, every world, every news network in the galaxy. The truth about what the Vraxian Empire did to its prisoners. "Let's go home," Deho said. The shuttle launched, leaving the disabled warship behind. 3 months passed like water through a broken dam. The galaxy changed in those 3 months, changed in ways that would echo for decades. The data Deho broadcast reached every corner of known space within hours. News networks picked it up. Independent journalists verified it. Governments could not suppress it because too many people had already seen it. The files showed everything. Experiments on conscious prisoners. Torture disguised as research. Bodies disposed of in space like garbage. Children taken from colonies and never returned. The Vraxian Empire's research stations were revealed as horror shows, and the galaxy recoiled in disgust. The Galactic Council called emergency sessions. Human ambassadors, who had been politely ignored for years, suddenly found themselves with full attention. They presented more evidence that human intelligence had been gathering for decades. Economic sanctions hit the Vraxian Empire like a hammer. 36 worlds refused to trade with them. Space routes were closed. Their ships were denied docking rights at neutral stations. Within the Empire itself, cracks appeared. Border worlds, tired of supporting a regime that brought shame instead of glory, began to rebel. 3 colonies declared independence in the first month. 5 more followed in the second month. Commander Thalrex faced a military tribunal. His crew testified against him. The tribunal found him guilty of negligence and incompetence. He was stripped of his rank, his titles, his pension. Last anyone heard, he was working as a cargo loader on a remote mining station. But the biggest change came from an unexpected source. Specialist Velcor, the young warrior who had talked with Deho, took the data chip to his superiors. When they tried to bury it, he leaked it to the press. When they tried to silence him, he defected. He became the first Vraxian in history to formally request asylum in human space. At his asylum hearing, broadcast across multiple worlds, Velcor spoke quietly but clearly. "I served my empire with honor. But honor means nothing if it serves evil. The human prisoner showed me that. He could have killed me. He could have killed many of us. But he chose mercy when mercy was not required. He showed me what real strength looks like. It is not in domination. It is in protecting those who cannot protect themselves." His testimony moved millions. Other Vraxians began to question their government. Reform movements started in the major cities. The empire that had seemed unshakable for centuries suddenly looked fragile. The rescued prisoners returned home to celebrations. Park Ji-won, after recovering from her injuries, went back to the Colonial Marines. But she was different now. Harder, more focused. She requested assignment to the Prisoner Recovery Division, a new unit formed specifically to find and free captured humans. "I know what it's like," she told her commanders. "I know the fear. I know the pain. I'm going to make sure others don't have to experience that." She became one of the division's most effective operators. In 3 months, her team liberated 4 hidden facilities and brought home 67 humans who had been given up for dead. In every debriefing, she was asked the same question. What was he like? "The Reaper?" And she always gave the same answer. Tired. Just a tired man who refused to quit. The research station where Dr. Hyunwoo worked was raided by a joint task force. Human special forces and several allied species went in together. They found the facility abandoned. Most of the staff had fled when they learned what was coming, but Dr. Hyunwoo was found in his office, dead. No signs of violence. No signs of struggle. The official report listed cause of death as heart failure, but security footage from that night was corrupted. Mysteriously, completely corrupted. And on the doctor's desk was a single item, a small folded piece of paper with Korean writing. It said, "For Helix Station. For the 300 souls you murdered, they have not forgotten. I have not forgotten." No one ever proved who left that note, but everyone knew. Kang Daeho himself seemed to vanish after delivering the prisoners to safety. Human military sent messages to his last known contacts. He never responded. Search teams looked for him in the sectors where he had been spotted before. They found nothing, but reports kept coming in. Strange reports, unverified reports. A cargo hauler under pirate attack suddenly received help from an unknown ship. The pirates fled, their weapons disabled, their engines crippled. The unknown ship left before anyone could identify it. A colony on the edge of human space, suffering from starvation after a crop failure, woke up one morning to find supply containers outside their settlement. The containers were marked with Korean characters. No one knew where they came from. A slaver operation was found destroyed, its prisoners freed, its leaders tied up for authorities to collect. Witnesses reported seeing a man, Korean, middle-aged, who spoke softly and moved like a shadow. The letter carriers across human space started receiving messages. Short letters, delivered by unknown means, going to families who had lost loved ones years ago. Mrs. Kim, whose son died at Helix Station 15 years ago, opened her mailbox one day to find an envelope with no return address. Inside was a letter in her son's handwriting written years ago but never delivered. It said he loved her. It said he was proud to serve. It said goodbye. At the bottom of the letter was a note in different handwriting. He saved 47 people that day. He died a hero. He would want you to know. Hundreds of families received similar letters, messages from lost loved ones, explanations of how they died, assurances that they had not suffered, that they had been brave, that they had mattered. No one knew how Deho had collected these letters, how he had kept them safe for so long, how he knew which families to send them to, but he knew, and he made sure those families received closure. In the bars where mercenaries gathered, new rules appeared. They were unwritten, but everyone followed them. Don't hunt humans, don't take human prisoners, don't attack human colonies, because you never knew which human was just a farmer and which human was a reaper. A pirate captain, drunk and boasting, once said he didn't believe in the reaper. "It's just a story," he said. "One man can't be everywhere, can't stop everything." 3 days later, his ship was boarded while docked at a neutral station. The crew was tied up. The ship's entire data core was copied, revealing every crime the pirates had committed. And on the captain's chair was a message. "You're right. One man can't be everywhere, but he can be somewhere, and you never know where that somewhere will be." The pirate captain retired from piracy that same day. 6 months after the incident on the Predator's Crown, the Human Defense Forces held a ceremony. They were unveiling a memorial for the victims of Helix Station. Families attended. Military officials gave speeches. The names of the dead were read aloud. At the end of the ceremony, the commanding general said something unexpected. "There is one name we cannot add to this memorial, because officially this person is still listed as killed in action 15 years ago, but we know the truth now. This person survived. This person spent 15 years making sure the people responsible were brought to justice. This person freed hundreds of prisoners and exposed crimes that our intelligence agencies couldn't prove." The general paused. "Colonel Kang Daeho, if you're listening to this broadcast, we want you to know, you're not forgotten. You're not abandoned. You can come home. Your duty is done. You can rest now." The message was broadcast on every frequency, in every language. Daeho never responded. But 3 months later, a small cargo ship arrived at a human colony in the Outer Rim. A man stepped off, Korean, looking tired and older than his years. He carried a small bag of belongings and wore civilian clothes. He bought a small piece of land outside the main settlement. He built a simple house with his own hands. He planted a garden. Tomatoes, peppers, Korean vegetables that reminded him of Earth. He spoke to his neighbors occasionally. He was polite but quiet. He helped when people needed help, fixing equipment or moving heavy loads. He never talked about his past. The children in the colony knew him as the nice man who grew good vegetables and sometimes told stories. They didn't know he had once destroyed 2 pirate organizations. They didn't know he had freed hundreds of prisoners. They didn't know his real name was spoken with fear in criminal circles across the galaxy. They just knew him as Mr. Kang, who smiled when they visited his garden and gave them fresh tomatoes to take home. But sometimes, late at night, he would receive messages on an old encrypted communication device. Messages about prisoners who needed rescue, about families who needed justice, about people who had nowhere else to turn. And sometimes Mr. Kang would tell his neighbors he was going away for a while. Business in the next system. trading vegetables for supplies. He'd be back in a few weeks. His neighbors would wave goodbye and think nothing of it. They never asked why his vegetable trading trips always coincided with news reports about freed prisoners or captured war criminals. They never noticed that whenever he returned, he looked a little more tired, a little more gray, but he always came back. Always returned to his garden, always watered his plants and pulled his weeds and lived his quiet life until the next message came, until the next person needed help, until the next prisoner needed to be brought home, because Kang Daeho had learned something during his 15 years of hunting. He had learned that he couldn't save everyone. He couldn't be everywhere. He couldn't stop all the evil in the galaxy.